afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank SAFETY4SEA and Apostolos here for inviting us and having us. And thank you for attending this session. We'll start with the subject, which is strategies of welfare and resilience. Considering that we are talking about strategies, what I would like to highlight and raise here is how many organizations are actually including into their business strategy the crew welfare as one of our many pillars. Talking about shipping being conservative, but in general, from our experience, what we see is that many organizations, they may, let's say, highlight or vouch about the fact that they are taking care of their crew or they are doing things for the welfare of the crew. But it has to go beyond than just ticking the box. It has to be embedded in the business culture. It has to be measured. And we as an industry, I believe we need to do more. OneCare Solutions is a provider of different welfare services, including medical advisory, mental health support, nutrition consultancy, and public health for the seafarers. And we are a bit in the fair front, let's say, dealing with the seafarers on daily basis. On the next slide, we are sharing some statistics of our interactions and engagements during 2023. We are highlighting here the engagements on, let's say, medical advisory and on mental health, and as well highlighting some of the interventions that, let's say, resulted to avoidance of deviations, saving lives, either on the mental health side or on the medical interventions. The statistics, what they show us is that indeed there is a need to engage and provide, let's say, the crew with the relevant support, either is in the front of the mental health or the medical advisory, or on a 360 solution, let's say, taking care of the welfare of the crew. If we look, let's say, at the elements of human factor and discuss about safety culture and psychological safety, etc., what we see in front of us reveals the need and how this is tied, let's say, with the support needed for the seafarers. And just to give an example, how these numbers they can convert, there is about 2.5 engagements, I would say, per vessel per year, on average, to provide medical support. There is another, let's say, 2 engagements per year per vessels on average to provide mental health support. If we go and look at the statistics on the mental health needs of the crew, you will see that there are different matters, let's say, that are stressors to the crew. Either this is anxiety, 5 millimeters, fatigue, trauma, on-board issues, individual crisis, etc. So the list is endless. It could be any matter, let's say, from somebody having trouble because they are going through issues with their wife or kid at home, to the extent that they are very stressed because, let's say, their families left back in Ukraine due to the war, and they are at sea and they cannot get in contact with them. Issues can range, let's say, from simple, let's say, stress, anxiety, but we have issues as well that lead, let's say, to suicidal cases. And the intervention and support is much needed there in order to save the lives of our seafarers. In a similar manner, let's say, we will see later on the statistics of the medical advisory. Now, if we look at some of the strategies that we need to apply, let's say, in order to build crew welfare and resilience, these could relate extending the 24/7, let's say, mental health support, but if we would like to be more proactive, we need to include trainings. We need to include assessments. We need to have a more direct engagement with the crew, let's say, at different levels. Either these are, let's say, crew seminars, pre-boarding, etc. But whatever each, let's say, organization chooses to do, going back to my first statement, to us it's highly, let's say, it's highly obvious, and it is recommended that whatever is applied, it has to be embedded in the organizational strategy of the organization. We need to look at the concept of care. We need to look at the concept of diversity, inclusion, trainings, all the issues with, let's say, women at sea. And if we apply all these in a structural, let's say, approach, definitely same will result to better, let's say, retention and loyalty of the crew. The next slide is about medical, let's say, support provided in 2023 to different clients from our 24/7 telemedicine. As we can see here, there are different issues that pertain, let's say, to medical events on board. It could be digestive, it could be infections, it could be cardiovascular, it could be controlled hypertension, diabetes, etc. If we look at these from a perspective of, apart from providing the service, what could be a possibility, let's say, to take a strategic approach, we, let's say, apart from providing the immediate access, let's say, to the crew in order to provide medical advice at sea, to improve the quality of care and have better health outcomes, we should go and have one step back. And the step back is the PEMI quality assurance program. If we start from there and enhance, let's say, the strategies of how we value, how, let's say, the pre-medicals are assessed, what is the PEMI profile, who is doing the PEMI, are the PEMI clinics, let's say, to the quality standards that they are needed for the industry nowadays. And what is the goal here? The goal here is not to penalize crew members. The goal here is let's say, to identify the issues and support the crew members to continue their career on board. From our records, we see that 25% of the cases that they're happening on board, as we've seen on the previous slide, which are quite a lot, they are arising, let's say, or they can be supported or prevented if they are identified early on at the PME stage. And there are solutions, let's say, of how, let's say, to capture this and manage this properly. And we are here illustrating one example from our dashboard on a controlled hypertension case, highlighting, let's say, the possible risks over an outlook of 4 years for a crew member at the age of 18 to, I don't see it very well, but I think it's 20 something. You can see how the risk factors are identified. So, as said, and to close, let's say, what I have to say, there are health programs and services available. It is important, let's say, to apply them strategically and include them in the business strategy of the organization and measure them accordingly. Thank you.